Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the good, the bad, and the Kirk. We're going to talk about the impressive yet clunky win over the Detroit Lions this past Sunday, 28-24. We're going to talk about the good things, we're going to talk about the bad things, and we're going to talk about the things that just don't make a lot of sense yet, but they will soon. Welcome aboard to the Real Forno Show.
Welcome to the Real Forno Show. Writer at NBC Sports Edge, contributor at USA Today's Vikings Wire, Sports Illustrated's All Seahawks, and founder of Substack Run and Shooter, as well as a member of Climbing the Pocket.
In the words of one of my favorite broadcasters of all time, you are looking live. I am Tyler Forness, and with me is our favorite construction worker, Dave in the top corner. How you doing, sir?
I am good in my day glow green. Yes, I had to wear these when I worked for American Building Company. We worked inside the plant. We needed high-vis stuff, and this is one of the things I used to wear because it got hot, and this is nice, lightweight. It's good. But it makes my beard pop, so.
Hey, you know what? Anything to make a beard look good, let me tell you. I cannot quite grow exactly what you have because, as you can tell, my cheeks, they don't exactly grow well. I'm 32 years old. I don't think that's changing anytime soon. But we can talk about facial hair another day because we have plenty of meat on the bone when it comes to our Minnesota Vikings. Listen, we're going to be honest. That was a clunker. That was an ugly game that the Vikings arguably did not deserve to win. The difference between this year's team and last year's team, they figured out a way to win. Friends of mine.
Did they deserve to lose? I think both teams were sort of, on there, especially that final decision by Kneecap Biter.
That final decision by Dan Campbell makes no sense considering his coaching dogma. It makes no sense considering how he called the rest of the game. It was like he just decided, hey, I'm just going to stop being aggressive and listen to the analytics, and I'm just going to kick a field goal to only go up 6, which would have still put them in the same position. So it's a very interesting game when you kind of look at it from start to finish. At the end of the day, they won a clunker. And friends of mine at the Solid Verbal podcast, it's a college football podcast. They always talk about win your clunkers. And when you don't play well, and when you have a game where you don't show up for half of it, and you figure out a way to win. Dave, the Vikings did that, and honestly, they did not do that in the Mike Zimmer era. This is a big step for the Minnesota Vikings. They figured out a way to win a game they really shouldn't have won. And they did it by doing something only one other Vikings team has ever done in franchise history. And that was the 1979 Vikings when they beat the Chicago Bears 30-27. They came back from 2 double-digit deficits. That 79 team was down 14-3 in the first quarter, 27-17 in the fourth. They figured out a way to do it. This Vikings team, 14-0 in the second, 24-14 in the fourth. They came back with 2 14-point swings in order to take this game. And there were a lot of little elements that we can really talk about. One I want to start with, Dave, I want to start with the running game. They really tried right away to establish the running game. And they did a good job. Cook had 94 yards before he dislocated his shoulder for what feels like the 900th time.
Yeah.
Oh, is that Odie? Hi, buddy. Odie decided to come say hi. He's being a good puppy today. Aren't you, bud? Yeah.
Yes, Dalvin did have a good game up until the point that he ran into the back of Ezra Cleveland and what do they call it? Sublocate, something like that, where his shoulder pops out of joint and he dislocated it. They popped it back in, but he's going to deal with it. It's the same injury he's had before. So he says he's going to play this coming up week. They'll put a harness on it. That's yet to be seen. Who knows? But he did have a good game up until that point.
Yeah, and it's really interesting with Dalvin Cook because reports came out right away, Dave, that he was going to play next week. And that came from Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk. he explicitly said, per source, Dalvin will play next week and he will wear that shoulder sling that you talked about.
I think Dalvin said it.
And we found out that Dalvin was the one that told him that. And minutes later in the press conference, Kevin O'Connell said that he's going to be day-to-day. They're going to evaluate him. And what's really interesting, Dave, this is a London game, but they're treating it like a semi-normal week. They're leaving on Friday. The Saints are already there. And the reason why the Saints are already there versus how the Vikings are handling it, the Saints played in Carolina. So they have a much shorter commute, and then they don't have to necessarily double back home. The Vikings were already at home. So now their travel day is going to be Friday. They'll probably practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, have a walkthrough Saturday, and then they'll be ready to go Sunday. So this team is already prepared for what's coming. But the short turnaround with travel, it is an 8-hour direct flight. So let's say you leave at 9 o'clock.
I've made it numerous times.
Yeah, you're gonna get there at 5 o'clock our time. It'll be like 11 o'clock England time.
No,
nope.
They've already put out roughly the schedule. They're going to take off. I think it's late Wednesday night. They're going to land late Thursday. Land Friday morning in England. All right.
Okay.
So they'll be there Friday morning. The deal is they're sort of going to be, if you think about it, they're 6 hours behind. So that's going to feel like it may be 6 a.m. England, but it's going to feel like midnight on Thursday-ish body clock wise. They're going to try to keep those guys up that didn't nap on the way over. And the best way to do a long flight is to sleep through it. Take my word for it. That is the easiest way to do it. Once you get there, they're going to keep him up all day Friday. I would not doubt if they go through a walkthrough on Friday and then another one on Saturday. For the Sunday morning game, it's morning for us, but it's afternoon for them. They're going to try to keep them as close as possible towards Central Time-ish, so the body clocks aren't too messed up. There's no way to get around that. But I always found when I flew east, I had an easier time adjusting than when I flew back west, to the States. So they're looking also at the game after that when they play the Bears. So I don't, they've done it before where they've taken off and spent the whole week in England and completely adjusted. And that would be absolutely perfectly fine if they had the bye after that week. They did not want the bye after that week because it'd be early. So they requested not to. So what they're going to try to do, the whole purpose of going in on Friday morning, landing in England on Friday morning, having Friday, Saturday, and then play Sunday, is so that they can not feel the adjustment as much. So when they come back, they're also good and not adjusting as much to the time difference change. Because I know I've done it dozens and dozens and dozens of times. And it's always, you generally take an hour for a day to adjust your body. There's ways to cheat that. You can speed it up and you can slow it down. And they're going to try to do just that. Good nutrition, staying well hydrated. That's a big key to it. When to time caffeine or energy drinks if you're wanting that so that you get the crash. All right. If you do a Monster, I like Monsters, right? If you do a Monster would keep me up for about 5 to 6 hours, right? But I could time that if I wanted to stay awake, that 5 or 6 hours. Then you'd crash, then you'd go to bed after that. And you could adjust your body clock a little bit quicker that way. There's other things, but nutrition and hydration are a big deal. I think what they're doing, because teams have done it both ways in the past, I think this will work. And I think it's the best idea. I do like what they're doing. I'm not worried about them being lethargic. That's not going to be the case. Because even if they stay on Central Time, it's an 8 o'clock start here in the morning. So that would put it plus 6 hours, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Central Time. They'll be fine. And they'll adjust and it'll almost feel like noon to them. So it should be, I like the idea. I'm not worried about it. No need
Yeah,
for fans to be worried either.
I'm not really worried about it. And I'll tell you this. The fact that the Vikings have an 8:30 game means we get to watch all 3 slates of football without having to watch the Vikings. And that sounds really weird. Like, if any of you have seen my pictures on Twitter, I have 3 TVs in my basement. I can watch 3 games at once. The Vikings being in a solo time slot for me is peak because then I can watch them. I can do my writing for the Vikings Wire, which I highly recommend you check out if you have not. I put up a lot of fun and interesting stuff that I try to at least make you think a little bit. And then I can just sit and watch all of it. It's great. I can just watch all the games at my own leisure, and I don't have to worry about it. And what it also does is the Vikings are essentially a national primetime game because they're the only game on.
So they're the only game on. Yep.
A lot of views. So
it's on NFL Network, if I remember correctly.
Yep. When you talk about Kirk Cousins, this is a primetime football game. Let's just call it what it is. It's going to be, like a 1:30 or 2:30 kick in London. That's kind of what it is. It's going to be a big primetime game. And considering how Kirk played in his last primetime game, and we know the narrative on Kirk, it's been beat to absolute death. It's a primetime game. We'll see how he reacts to it.
And this is Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It is a soccer stadium, but purposely built for the NFL. They have massive locker rooms. It was designed purposely with the NFL in mind, using the NFL. They were over there helping them. It is a relatively new stadium. It is gorgeous. They are going to have a good time. It's not Wembley. This, like I said, this stadium was designed to show NFL football. And if London ever gets a team, that's where they're going to be based. Most likely.
Yeah, it's
versus
Wembley.
Wembley.
Exactly. Wembley's cool as hell. It's kind of got like that Lambeau Field vibe where it's got like the history.
It's got the history.
And it's a really cool like landmark. But as far as like a modern day NFL stadium, no. That's where the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium comes into play. But enough about London, Dave. I see you got your snifter. What is in there tonight?
I'm drinking Irish. It is just a good basic Irish Powers. Nothing can't go wrong with them. Nothing special in the way of Irish, but it's not a bad Irish. It's a good Irish, and I'll drink it all day long. Why? Because I haven't found a Scotch I like yet. Which probably disappoints the Queen, rest in peace, but I have not found one yet I like.
Dave, try Glenlivet 15-year French Oak Reserve. It's about as close to a bourbon as Scotch is going to get. That's probably your gateway. I've got a bottle at home. It's very good. But let's kind of get into this, Dave. We're going to talk about the good and the Kirk. And Kirk was everything in this game. He was very good. He was very bad. He was like, what in the world are you doing, Kirky boy? The biggest frustration I have with Mr. Kirk Cousins, other than Odie biting my $700 chair, is the fact that Kirk is inconsistent. And Dave, it drives me bonkers that Kirk is inconsistent.
It's early in the season. He always has a game like the last one and this one. But in this one, you are right, 100%. He was inconsistent. We saw bad Kirk and we saw good Kirk. And we saw good Kirk at the best time in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And
now, look, Dave, I want to point this out. I understand your argument. Hey, it's early in the season. Look, the guy's an 11-year vet. I'm not going to use that as an excuse here. Kirky boy.
Him.
Yeah, I know, but that's the problem. Yeah, I'm not asking him, Dave, I'm not asking him to be a god. I'm not asking him to go out and play like Zeus. I'm not asking him to be Mahomes. I'm asking him to be consistent with who he is. That is not an unfair ask. But
he is consistent with who he is. He goes through this every season.
be his relatively good consistent.
Oh, you
That's
want good
not
Kirk
unfair.
all the time. If we had good Kirk all the time, we are going deep into January and February. If we have
You
good
don't even
Kirk
have
all
to
the
be
time.
good Kirk all the time. Just don't be bad Kirk. Just like some of his decision making, and I have the all 22, and I'm slowly going through it, and he's the offensive line, Dave. Round of applause for the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they have been tremendous. Garrett Bradbury looks like a different player. We had major doubts, and there was a lot of talk from Kevin O'Connell that Garrett Bradbury was going to be better because they did the same with Brian Allen. Brian Allen just got a contract extension after year 4 with the Los Angeles Rams. Bradbury, he had a couple reps, Dave. He's good. And I don't know what happened.
Whoa,
I don't know.
Whoa. No. Bradbury's better. And they are getting the most out of Bradbury. And he had an excellent game. I'll give you that.
No.
And maybe
2 excellent games.
Hopefully
2 in a row.
Hopefully they fixed his mechanics. Because I told you, centers his size, which is relatively small, 300-ish, can be good centers if the technique is right. It's all about technique. He's never had on pass blocking his technique right. I still saw some things I didn't like, but he is getting better, which means the coaches are working on him with that. You know, this is how you do it. This is how you position. You have your weight over the balls of your feet. You try to keep your feet going. That's one of his big failures because he'll stop pumping his feet. You don't see that with Ed Ingram. Now, Ed Ingram had his own issues yesterday, but he's playing better. I like that. I want him to play better. I want him to look like, hey, this is a contract year for me. I'm going to take that step up from crappy pass blocker to decent pass blocker and try to get either an extension by the Vikings or a free agent contract somewhere. So, but to say he's good. Believe it or not, PFF has him right now after 3 games ranked the 6th highest center on their board.
Yeah. Look, it's back-to-back games of him figuring it out, Dave. And I don't want to necessarily crown him before it's actually become a true constant. Dave, it's becoming we now have a trend of back-to-back games of him being good. Now, I'm not going to call him Jason Kelce. I'm not going to call him a top-tier center in the NFL. Dave, all we wanted from him is average.
Yeah.
We're getting a little bit better than that.
Now. And
we're getting good. This is good. Like, Ed Ingram is the worst offensive lineman, and he's been solid. Like, he has been, like, the best part about your offensive line, unless they're absolute ass kickers like Trent Williams, is when you don't talk about them. When did they talk about the offensive line for the Vikings during that entire game? They didn't. Odie, did you poop? I think you pooped.
T. Kubler, I hope Kirk Cousins has a passing clinic like he did at Wembley, like you said. I appreciate that. Thanks for bringing that up. Billy Lester, you had said no, he not. I'm assuming that's consistency on Kirk Cousins. The whole thing, my point is he's always inconsistent beginning of the season, and he's been consistent at being inconsistent. That is normal. Kirk Cousins, he has 11 seasons of it. Now, however, with the inconsistency, starting this weekend, we're rolling into Kirktober. And we all know Kirk plays well in October. So that may be a great sign, especially with the next 3 games. I don't want to look too far ahead, but hopefully he rocks and is good Kirk.
Saints, Bears, Dolphins.
And yeah, but I don't want to get too far ahead. Let's Bears are 2-1. How? I'm not quite sure. Dolphins are
Texans
legit.
Texans and Monsoon.
I know how it happened. They've been lucky, and sometimes luck happens. So
yeah. we'll kind of wrap up the Kirk part. Biggest thing.
Dan. But when Kirk has 7 seconds, it still takes the sack. Yes, there was that problem. That was bad, Kirk.
Yeah.
Early in the game.
But I will also say there were a few instances where Kirk had to hang on to the ball, and there was nowhere to go. Coverage was overall not too bad. They also had a lot of penalties. The strategy seemed to be, we're going to grab, and we're going to keep grabbing. And then we're going to get some 5-yard calls. That's fine, because we're going to win enough of those battles where it'll make a difference. And there were some third downs where they were grabby, and it wasn't called.
Right. And so the refs are like, I can't call another one. I'll just keep it in my pocket. Mm-hmm. And so they keep the flag in their pocket, right, instead of throwing it, especially at the end of the game.
Yeah.
That's a strategy, and it's a strategy that worked. However, not that I'm blaming Kirk on that. Yes, at those times, Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne, Justin Jefferson. We watched Justin Jefferson. He was minimum doubled, sometimes tripled.
They said during a press conference today there was 9 different reps where he wasn't bracketed or doubled.
Coach O'Connell needs to suddenly start messing with that to make sure guys are coming open. And he tried with Irv Smith. Irv Smith, who looked outstanding last year in the time he played in the preseason here, has suddenly forgotten how to catch a football for the most part. Yes, he scored a touchdown. Congratulations, Irv. But you're not being the impact player we anticipated you to be. And dropping footballs is not what a tight end is supposed to do. Part of your job description is to catch footballs. Your opinion is everybody needs to stop worrying about JJ. I agree with you. I'm not worried about JJ. He may have mentally gotten a little out of funk, but he'll get back into it. JJ is still on his way to greatness. No, not worried about that.
He absolutely is. Very, very impressed overall with how the Lions attacked this game, because they were not going to let Justin Jefferson beat us. And I think it's a big constant that we need to look at moving forward, Dave. Can you hear that?
Yes.
Odie found a squeaker toy.
What a good boy, Odie.
There is 2 piles of dog shit in my office, and I can't stop smelling it. It is awful. Odie just killed the little ducky, though. So
he's commenting he's a good on the hunter. Team on Kirk Cousins' first half play.
Exactly. I think this is going to be a strategy that a lot of teams look at moving forward. And we're going to need KJ Osborne and Adam Thielen to step up. Yeah. And the Vikings are going to have to figure out a way for Jefferson to beat it. And he's not going to keep getting free releases off the line of scrimmage like he did in Green Bay. He is going to have to figure out how to beat the man coverage. When he does, Dave, it's a good sign for the Vikings, because Thielen and Osborne are beating second and third corners. They're beating safeties. They're beating linebackers. O'Connell's going to have to get creative. They're going to have to figure it out. And when they do figure it out, it's going to be good. Irv Smith, Troy Williamson. Look, Irv Smith's had two pretty rough drops. It's also 3 games in.
I know Rhino is hurting over that, but no, it's not quite.
I know Rhino, great guy, great show of Vikings Uncensored. When you're done here, go check them out. But yeah, I'm not willing to go Irv Smith is Troy Williamson. But I will say, Irv Smith can still be a good player, and the things he can do are things that the rest of the tight end room cannot do, and that is why he was featured. And you don't have to look any farther than that out route that he caught on the sidelines. He absolutely manipulated the linebacker and took him to school, and that's what he can bring to the offense. He needs to figure out how to catch the football. Look, stand in front of a jugs machine for 3 hours. You'll figure it out.
Whereas Ben Ellefson did, Johnny Mutt did. I loved that Ben Ellefson got a good game. Had a good game, because I love
very good game, Dave.
That can catch, and Johnny Mutt falls into that category as well. But the whole idea of Irv was that sort of hybrid tight end wide receiver that could do some spectacular things. And we have yet to see it since he's come back from his injury. So it's, like I said, it's still early. Who knows? This all new season systems, right? The offense is new to them. The guys like it, but there are going to be things that come out and they're going to get better at it as the season goes. What is nice is they're not peaking right now. I think it was Adam Thielen that talked about it, that, you suddenly start winning games and you feel comfortable, and then that's as far as you go, right? They're not peaking right now. There is so much room for improvement. It's nice to be 2-1 and 3-1 and 4-1 and 5-1, right? But let's keep improving. Let's get that down. And then by week 6, 7, 8, you're going to have the offense should be humming up at full speed. Defense, believe it or not, is a little slower because they're going to a completely brand new system and they're taking a while, and it showed on Sunday, right? To much of my frustration, it showed, and you were wondering who's covering who's not dishing off in their zones properly, etc., etc. But that's going to also catch up. And as long as we're still winning and we still have room to improve, that's a good thing. As long as we keep progressing down that line to getting better and playing more proficient on both sides of the ball and winning at the same time, we are setting ourselves up for something that can be pretty sweet. So let's hope that's the case. And you muted your microphone.
Absolutely. That was because my little honey bunches of Odie decided, hey, I'm going to use the squeaker toy while Dad's talking on the TV. But he's a very good puppy. He doesn't know what to do with himself because he's never in my office because he's a absolute little turd. But he's wonderful.
I want to address this by Anthony. Please get Brian Asamoah on the field quickly. Now.
I'm out. No.
Oh, but
he's not there yet.
But there was this play on special teams where he ran down and absolutely buried the dude at like the 12 or 15 yard line. And it was very good. The fact that he has speed, we love. And
sure,
Anthony,
but that's not everything.
Yeah. Anthony, I want to see him develop more. I hope he gets practice reps at one of the linebacker positions and learns how to read everything in football. You have keys that you're looking for, tells sort of deal. You're looking at when I used to coach linebackers, I tell them look at the guards, right? And there's certain things, how their hands were placed, how much weight's on their hands. That tells you run or pass. Are they leaning? Where's the first step? Things like that. He needs to learn so that he can come up when you have a defensive tackle that's playing a 2-gap. He's there to fill the opposite gap. But if he aims for that opposite gap and then the defensive tackle slides in, now you got both the guys in that gap and it leaves the other one open. And if you have a decent running back, he's going to cut back into it and the linebackers missed his assignment. He's got to learn that. It's going to take a little bit of time, but it's going to happen. I do like his future, very much so. And like I said, I love his speed and I love his attitude. Let him go. He's a 4th rounder. Let him develop. That's cool. And hopefully he doesn't have to go in because Kendricks or Hicks got hurt. We don't want that.
The problem I have with Asamoah is he can't see. And that's going to come with time. And you kind of laid it out pretty nicely, Dave. Is Hicks exciting? No, not really. Is speed and athleticism from Asamoah incredibly appealing? Oh, yeah. But here's the problem with all that. It doesn't matter if you're really good at being really fast and athletic. If when you see the field, it doesn't matter. If you read the wrong gap, that can be the difference between a 2-yard run and a touchdown. And quite frankly, that's kind of where we're at with Asamoah right now. Enjoy the fact that he's got a lot of potential. enjoy the fact that he's fast. He's great on special teams. Look, he is not there as far as being an every down player on offense, and that's okay. He's a third-round pick. You drafted him to be your future, not your now. Mm-hmm. And because of all that, take your time with him. Hicks is playing fine. Mm-hmm. He's playing above replacement level football. He and Kendricks are a good pair. There are mistakes from Hicks, don't get me wrong. He's not making super flashy, exciting plays, but he's playing stalwart football. And quite frankly, that's what we need next to Kendricks right now. Asamoah is not going to give you that, and he is going to not – he just needs to learn how to see the field better. Film study, talking with guys in the meetings, seeing things, talking with the position coaches during the game. Those things are going to help him. He can help see the field better on special teams by running kicks, where if you make a little bit of a mistake, there's more people that are going to be able to help you than there would have been on defense. Like, there's a lot of elements.
If you're 3 to 5 yards off the line of scrimmage, yes.
Yeah.
Rhino asks, what's going on with Scene?
I wrote about that a lot this week for the Vikings Wire, Dave.
Well, tell us about it.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to get Odie to stop chewing on my computer charger because he's a little turd biscuit.
Odie, you need to hold Odie up in front of the camera so all of us can see.
Oh, you know what? I can do that. My sweet buddy. Come here. Oh, you.
Rhino, I'm curious, what do you think the problem is with Lewis C?
Here he is.
There you go, Odie.
Hi, buddy.
Look at the good boy. Look at your good boy.
Odie, can you say something? Ruff.
Ruff. You got his attention.
Ruff.
Now he's like that.
Yeah. Odie's a very good puppy, but he is a little active right now, and Mom is not home, so he's alone with Dad, and I just did not have the heart to put him in the crate. So it is him and I am giving him room to roam, and it was good for the first half of the show. Now he's getting a little rambunctious. But Lewis Cine. So the biggest thing with Lewis Cine, Dave, he always needed a little time. And that's fine. He was a guy who played in the SEC. His biggest positives were that he could read and react and diagnose quickly, and then he had the athleticism to absolutely explode downhill and take care of business. Problem is, when you go to the NFL, there is a speed adjustment, even if you're playing in the SEC against Alabama and Florida and Tennessee, Ole Miss. Like, we're talking the NFL caliber speed at all of those programs. Problem is, not everybody is NFL caliber. So once you get to the NFL and you're playing NFL caliber talent, it's just a different ballgame. Now, Cine, I don't have an explanation for why he played 0 snaps. I will say it is hard to fault the coaching staff because Metellus had a very good game.
Yes, he did.
87.2 PFF grade, had the game-ending interception, almost had it a couple plays prior. He played really well. He played smart football.
And you saw 44 all over the field, making tackles. Yeah. He was up towards the line of scrimmage, making tackles. He was back. He had a fantastic game, and quite pleased over that.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, do you want to see your first-round pick play? Absolutely. Do you want to see him grow and develop? Duh. Nobody's going to argue that point. But the problem is he needs time. He's getting that time. We have to be patient. He's going to be fine. What he showed in the preseason, exactly what I talked about. He read and react just a titch slow, and when he attacked downhill, he was this close. He is going to be a problem, Dave, in time. The time, unfortunately, is not now. He just needs a little bit. They're going to start using more penny packages, 5 on the line, 1 linebacker, 5 defensive backs. And with Bynum and Cine's ability to play in the slot and how Chandon Sullivan is not a good slot cornerback, and we've kind of seen that bear out over the past few weeks, this is how the Vikings are going to continue to grow and develop. And they're going to be able to use some of those sub packages. I am very excited to kind of see how things grow and progress. But I will say this much. Just be patient. It's annoying that you have to be this patient, but you have to try. and just be excited the fact that he's playing on special teams. He's playing well. Metellus played very well on Sunday, and he played about as well as you could have expected Harrison Smith to play. That's saying something for a 6th-round pick out of Michigan, who really was not really thought to amount much of nothing. To be able to do that, Dave, tremendous.
And Metellus's first couple years were a little rough, but he has developed, and he's developed nicely, and he may be a keeper at the end of his contract.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the very least, Dave, he'll be a keeper on special teams, and that's a big deal. Now,
definitely.
We'll kind of talk a couple more points here to talk about, and then we're going to move on to kind of a quick preview of the Saints game, which the network is going to have to do a great job of talking about all week. Defensive line. Dalvin Tomlinson was all over the place. Zadarius Smith had 5 pressures. Danielle Hunter had 3. Did they get... Oh, hi, puppy. Do you want up? Do you want to come see me? Come on. Oh, there we go, puppy.
He's waiting to hear.
Yep. So the big thing was Zadarius Smith and Danielle Hunter. They did a great job, but at the end of the day, they didn't get any sacks. And sometimes that's okay. Jared Goff was really good at delivering the football. He was throwing with timing. He was throwing with anticipation. Look, this looked like peak Jared Goff with the Los Angeles Rams, and that is a compliment, because Goff was basically dumped by the Rams because he couldn't keep growing and developing. Right, puppy?
Yes.
Yeah. Odie agrees. He's sitting in my lap. I'm sorry you can't see him. I'm trying to keep him calm so he doesn't eat my shorts. Yeah. Good boy, puppy. Good boy. Come on.
That could go terribly badly.
Mm-hmm. Well, especially because I have clothes sitting out here, don't I, Odie? Yeah. Look, the defensive line was all over the place. They were attacking. They were aggressive. Danielle Hunter looked like his old self. The sacks are an inherently random stat. Pressures are not. They're on pace for 40 sacks, which is a solid number, but they got a lot of pressures against Jared Goff. 8 of them specifically came from Smith and Hunter. Keep getting pressure. You will make a difference. Those sacks will come. You're impacting the passing game no matter what. And I think
Detroit has a very good offensive line. You got to remember
that. Right, Odie? Do they have a good offensive line? No, he doesn't want to get in the camera shot. He's shy.
Now, Daniel asks, hit on Kene Nwangu in special teams. He was getting there too.
Mm-hmm.
Have you looked at those stats?
Special teams? No, I have not.
I was discussing this with I see Ezra Cleveland. Yes. I was discussing this with our buddy Drewster today.
Mm-hmm.
Kene Nwangu is averaging over 20 yards per return.
How many yards over 20? Because
I think just right at 20. But 20 yards, it's 20 to 23, something like that. I'd have to look for the season.
Okay.
Right? Which is good. You want that minimum from a kick return, right? Yeah. You have also Jalen Rigger is averaging 10 yards. That's good for a punter. Punter's average is usually about 9. You get 10. Mm-hmm. Now, but we've all watched Kene get those and bring those back. And it's always like, he just got tackled. He just got tackled. Well, there's going to be a day when some coverage team, they kick the ball and the coverage guys come down and they make a wrong decision. And we all know it. Kene's going to be gone. So I can live. If his minimum is 20 yards, we can live with that. Because teams are starting to figure out, don't kick it through the end zone if your special team is good enough. This is where Matt Daniels and our special teams coach has figured it out. The Vikings lead the league in establishing the worst field position for the opponent on kickoffs. And they did it the first bunch of kicks in game 1, blasted through the end zone. That starts you at the 25, right? Then they had one return. They stopped that. And I think it was like 17. And then they went, Matt Daniels went, So now they've got Greg Joseph kicking towards the corners, but short. and then letting the coverage teams get them, and they're averaging right around the 21-yard mark, which is 4 yards shorter than the 25 if they would have kicked it through the end zone.
Odie agrees.
That over time builds up. When you have Kenny on our side doing that, and he's getting 20 yards, yeah, it may not be quite the 25 he gets to, but you all know that all he has to do is slip that one guy, and that's going to happen. It only happened twice, 2-3 times last year. It's going to happen this year too. Not every team is as good at special teams coverage. Maybe it's the 3 we've already played.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. I think, Kenny, we're going to be doing some Wang Chung tonight when it comes to Saturday or Sundays in the near future. So be happy about that.
Absolutely. There are a lot of good things. And then Anthony brings up Christian Darrisaw. Look, keep an eye on the Vikings. I'm going to talk a lot about Darrisaw this week. He was great. The Vikings have finally figured out both tackle positions, which is the most important 2 positions on the offensive line. Now that they have their bookends, keep building out the interior and make sure you have those guys long term. Just great to see. This game against the Saints, Dave, it is Vikings -3 is the opening line, or -2.5 depending on the book. So basically, this is a neutral field.
By 3. Yep.
Vikings are favored by 3. They would be favored by 5.5 or 6 if they were playing at US Bank. It's a game the Vikings should win. They should go into London and be able to take out a good, but not great, New Orleans Saints team. Jameis Winston throwing to Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, and my guy Chris Olave with Alvin Kamara in the backfield. They have a good offensive line. They have a really good defensive line. They have corners. Marcus Lattimore is there, and he is a fantastic football player. Look, this is a Saints team that can compete with the Vikings. They can play with them. They can honestly beat them. The Vikings need to be able to match up. They need to play well in the trenches. They need to figure out how to get Justin Jefferson involved. And if they can't, it has to be the Adam Thielen and KJ Osborne show. Dalvin Cook cannot be relied upon in this game, even if he plays, because we've seen it before. He comes back a little too early from a shoulder injury. Boom, he's out for 3 weeks. So
and another fumble. Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned it, and I'm going to give credit to Judd for this. Every time he gets hurt, he fumbles. Every time. Have you noticed that?
Well, yeah. Well, and it's the same injury, basically. It's his right shoulder pops out.
Left.
And it's just, and when it does that, you're losing control.
Mm-hmm.
It happens. Now, Jameson Winston, if I remember correctly, he's playing with a fractured back, which can't be comfortable.
No, there's no risk of actually re-injuring it, or injuring it further, which is honestly a good thing. But at the end of the day,
it's the little, all I can think of is
discs?
Y bones, like in northerns. It's the little bones that flare out from the your central discs, and some of those are busted. And it's nothing, debilitating. It's painful.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Daniel, super glue that sucker in. We need to do something. Speed tape, super glue, something, get it in there so it doesn't pop out again.
That's why they're going to try the sling. They've tried it before. See how it works.
But it does restrict his movement, purposely restricts his movement. So once you do that, you're not going to see Dalvin in the passing game. Right? And Dalvin, we know, can catch footballs, and we love him catching footballs in space. When they operate a screen properly, unlike not this last weekend, but the weekend before, that could be helpful. But it now takes that off the table until he heals up some more. Dalvin's never been healthy outside of his freshman year. Possibly, I think it's one of those things he's going to deal with the rest of his life. He may walk to the kitchen and grab a gallon of milk and then ask his wife later when he's 60, hey, here, grab my arm. Pull my arm back and stick it back in socket. It's going to be one of those type of injuries. Unfortunately for him, but it happens.
It is what it is. The game is going to be a very interesting watch. give a few keys. Then we're gonna give a rundown of what you should expect from us this week, and then we're gonna get out of here, guys, because it's getting close to Monday Night Football. I like the idea of spraying some Windex on it. That's pretty good. Biggest things for me that you need to watch. One, you got to see how Kevin O'Connell responds to all this man coverage and Justin Jefferson, because Marshawn Lattimore is going to get him one-on-one, and you got to be able to beat Marshawn Lattimore. Marshawn Lattimore is one of the best cornerbacks in football. I like the idea of keeping Dalvin out. We'll see what happens. We just don't know yet.
See Ty Chandler brought up. Yes.
Second thing that we need to look for, they need to get pressure on Jameis Winston. The easiest way to do that is to go off the left side or blitz up the middle. How are they going to attack that? Are they going to get some situations where they put Hunter and Smith on one edge and try to confuse that left tackle in order to get some pressure? Like, there are going to be some opportunities there. Lastly, the Vikings offensive line needs to hold up. They need to stop Cam Jordan. They need to be able to beat Marcus Davenport, and they need to stop the interior rushers from being able to get to the quarterback. They basically need to play as well as they did this past week. They can do those three things. You're looking at a Vikings victory, and I'm very excited to kind of see what that'll look like. And it obviously is a game in London, so there are a lot of different variables. And Odie is getting very sad. He's whining. All right, buddy.
Purple Haze, I'm sorry my expression caused you to get mad because I gave up. I was not expecting the comeback. It was my fault. I should have. I will know better next time to at least try to keep my expression a little bit more neutral. I've never been good at doing that. I show my feelings usually quite easily. But I am glad to call Kirk Cousins the comeback king as of today. And that was me picking out the artwork for today, by the way.
Yeah, I definitely didn't do that. Look, Kirk deserves all the credit in the world for what he did in that last drive. Nobody's going to argue that. But there's a reason why were in the point of that last drive. And
his fourth quarter was brilliant.
Good old Kirky boy. Except for the play right before the final drive where they went 5 and out.
No.
It wasn't perfect. Let's not act like it. We want a clunker. Let's figure out what was wrong. Let's be better for it. That's why we're here. In the end of the day, Vikings Saints, I would project, Dave, as of right now, a Vikings victory. And I'm going to go ahead. I was 1 point off. I predicted Vikings 28-25 over the Lions. It was 28-24. I'm going to predict Vikings 31, Saints 24. And I think that's going to end up being the final score. Nope.
Okay. I don't want to call games. Vikings are favored. I think they should win. But none of them are easy.
No. It's the NFL. Nothing's easy, and it's even harder to bet on it. Dave, on the network this week, how are we looking?
We have Vikings hot takes tomorrow with the great Flip Muzzy from Climbing the Pocket and Eric Thompson from the Daily Norseman. Then on Wednesday, we have Vikings Happy Hour. We're working on getting a guest. But it looks to be me and Ryan and our guest. And our guest is a controversial one. But I think you'll like it. And then we come down to Saturday with myself and Darren, your two old bloggers, the guys that have been writing about this team for over 2 decades each. And you wonder why my feelings get shown every once in a while. It happens. And we'll break down the Saints game last minute, what's up, who's on any injury reports or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the normal stuff going into a game. And then Sunday, we all wake up early, or we're already up, and we watch the game early, start drinking early, however you do it, you know, good eggs and bacon or bangers, as in England, or sausages, and you have a good time, and then we'll fire up the final score, and we appreciate all that watched that yesterday. It was a good showing. And we'll go over, hopefully, a Vikings win.
Absolutely, and you can catch all my written work at the Vikings Wire, where I'm continuing to talk about this Lions victory, and we're going to start transitioning over to talking about the Saints and how things look for those silly little boys from New Orleans. In the meantime, thank you all very much for watching and listening. Thank you for dealing with my wonderful, beautiful puppy, Odie, who continues to eat my $700 chair. And ladies and gentlemen, enjoy Victory Week. Enjoy being a Vikings fan. And Skol, baby.
Enjoy your lake monster. Stay healthy. Eat well. And what do we say? We say,
Skol Vikings.
Go Vikings! Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell, and rate us on your favorite aggregator. And a special shout out goes to our partners, The Daily Norseman, where the best Vikings content can be found, and to Lake Monster Brewing, home of the best beer in Minnesota. Skol, everybody.